Live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Stories around the world, stories here at home. This is the National News broadcast bringing to you live from the National News Studios here at Rupavahini. A very good evening to you. I'm Charita Binipurarachi.
A very good evening to you indeed. I'm Sharifa Tahir. Let's take a look at the headlines.
Public Financial Management and Economic Transformation Bill passed in Parliament without a vote. Gazette notification on the presidential election to be published tomorrow. Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa and MP Sarath Fonseca declare their presidential candidacy. President Ranil Wickramabahu emphasizes the need to revitalize the tea industry. Steps to promote further Ceylon tea brand. Port City's end of the port entrance expressway connects to New Kalani Bridge. Cabinet approval to implement the national agenda for anti-corruption. Leftist powerhouse Dr. Wickramabahu Karunaratne bids farewell to the nation. Oil tanker capsizes in Philippines, causing the risk of severe environmental disaster.
Detail now, and starting off with the news just in. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena will be delivering a speech, a controversial speech regarding the Supreme Court judgment, Supreme Court decision delivered regarding the Inspector General of Police matters at Parliament tomorrow morning, and many controversial statements will be disclosed from tomorrow's speech. And on your more local stories, Public Finance Management and Economic Transformation bills passed in Parliament without a vote today.
The bills which were presented to Parliament on May 22nd were passed with amendments.
Parliamentarian Lakshman Kiriyala said that the figures entered with the International Monetary Fund have been included in the Economic Transformation Act, which is incorrect. He said that the future governments will face issues when presenting government includes their policies into an act. He said that under a SJP government, they are expecting to renegotiate with the IMF. State Minister Shahan Semasinga said that certain entities refrain from taking over responsibilities when the Secretary to the Treasury and the Central Bank Governor briefed the economic situation of the country. He said that the Chief Opposition Whip has not studied the Act completely. Opposition leader Sajith Premadas said that they will definitely enter into renegotiations with the IMF. He said that they will reach a people-friendly agreement with the IMF following the discussions. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the Secretary to the Finance Ministry has signed the agreements on behalf of the government. He said that if the IMF learns about the new changes to the agreements, they will not continue the assistance extended to the country. He said that this would collapse into a worse situation under such circumstances.
පිස්සන් රජ උනත් එකයි රජුන් පිස්සෝ උනත් එකයි කාගේ ගෑනු කාට ගියත් අපේ නමට ලැබෙයි ළමයි කියලා තමයි එදා සෝමපාල ගුණදීරයන් සඳහන් කළේ. ඒ නිසා පිස්සු විදියට ඉඳ ඇතුව ප්‍රබුද්ධ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවක් හදාගෙන සසර වසනා තාක්කල් ආණ්ඩුවක් කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න නම් මේ පළත ඒකමතිකව සම්බන්ධ කරන්න උදව් කරන්න. සත්‍ය වශයෙන්ම මේ වාගේ
Parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva said that such laws should have been put in many years ago in order to save the country from bankruptcy. He said that the Samaki Janabalawega is in favor of the new act. However, he said that there are few discrepancies which require to be addressed. He said that legal provisions should be brought in to address accountability aspect, as well as further elaborations are required on several technical aspects. State Minister Shahan Semasinga said that the opposition interfered the process to re-stabilize the economy of the country. He said that Samagi Janabalawega is the first to share the intent to resort to IMF during the crisis period.
බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ එදා කියන එක පැත්තකින් තියන්නකො. එතකොට අපි 100% ඔය එග්‍රීමන්ට් එකත් එක්ක එකඟ නැහැ. අපේ ආණ්ඩුව ආවම තව මාස දෙකකින් අපි මේක වෙනස් කරනවා. මේ පනතේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙමෙයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. මේ පනතේ ප්‍රශ්න.
Agreeing with the State Minister, Parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva said that such actions would not have led the country into bankruptcy. State Minister Shahan Semasinga said that the amendments to the bills were introduced by the opposition, which were accepted by the ruling party. He said that they will pass these bills with the majority mandate in Parliament.
President Ranil Wickramabahu emphasized the crucial role of the Sri Lankan tea industry in transitioning the country towards an export economy. The president noted that Ceylon tea is a world-renowned brand and should be further promoted through a new strategic program. President Wickramabahu made these remarks while addressing the opening ceremony of the Colombo International Tea Convention, which commenced this morning at the Cinnamon Grand Hotel in Colombo. The two-day convention, themed Tea, a Lifestyle and a Livelihood, has been jointly organized by the Colombo Tea Traders Association and the Sri Lanka Tea Board. Industry experts, leading brands and social organizations from numerous countries, including Kenya, China, India, Japan, the United Kingdom, the Gulf countries, and the United States gathered at the convention.
As we are meeting here today, the Parliament is debating the economic transformation bill. I need not tell you what hardships that we underwent in the last 4 years. But as we emerge from bankruptcy, we have to remember that we still need foreign exchange to pay for our goods. And the vision of the government was to transform the economy in the next decade to a highly competitive, export-oriented economy based on net zero and digitalization. A lot of modernization methods may not have come into being if there was no tea industry. And let's be realistic. We are a country which broke up our capital formation, which came out of land, plantations for about 30-40 years. Now we are trying to recapture that and to bring plantations up to play a role in the future. So let me first tell you the first step. I don't think we need plantations. We need a thriving agro-business, both of smallholders and large management companies who will look at the highest earnings possible. So that is the beginning. So you have to start reforming from inside. And of that, two measures I must mention. One, the need to resolve the issue of remunerations. We have to remember that those who worked in the plantations are some of the people who were at the worst end of the bankruptcy in the country. Secondly, to ensure that we come into agro-business, we will now extract all the line room areas and the surrounding areas and take it back to the government and regazette them as villages, so that the line room concept will disappear as people start building. But then that's the part of the world we live in. No one lives next to a factory. They come from nearby. If you go to the coconut estates, we don't have anyone living in the lands that belong to us. So that, especially because the multi-dimensional poverty indicators in Nuwara are very high, higher than some of the northern areas which were affected by war. So these are some of the issues we have to resolve. Thirdly, there's the question of the debt that have been incurred by some of the enterprises, especially the small enterprises during this period, and how do we resolve it. Fourthly, matter which concerns us and others, the access to the Russian market. Actually, sanctions have not in any way put back Russia. They have somehow or other come into Asia. The problem is for those of us who have to trade with Russia. And maybe those will require new look, but we'd have to wait the outcome of the US presidential election. Till then, you have to use your means of how you get your tea across to Russia, which I should not know. That's the only requirement. But there is now, what is the model of our enterprises? We have the smallholders, and how do the plantation industry become agro-business? And are we going to stay only to tea, or are we going to allow smart agriculture in your areas, give you a mix? Those something forestry. And in time to come, there will be land that will be opened out in other parts of the country for agro-businesses to grow. So there are opportunities of applying.
Tea Trade Association and the Sri Lanka Tea Board launched the first Colombo International Tea Convention in 1992, and this year's event promises to be an important forum to promote fresh thinking towards ensuring the sustainability of tea and its people. This convention will be unique with authentic Ceylon tea experiences. The tea industry has been a major socio-economic force in our country. It is a significant part of the national economy and a vital source of livelihood for millions, playing a key role in minimizing rural poverty and promoting prosperity in our rural tea growing areas.
And meanwhile, the Election Commission is set to publish the Gazette Extraordinary Notification to announce the date for the proclaiming the presidential election and the nomination date tomorrow. This decision was reached when the Election Commission was convened today. Chairman of the Elections Commission RMAL Ratnayaka said that with the publication of the polls, the Constitution and the Presidential Election Act stipulate the time frame pertaining to the election. He said that following the publication, the nomination date should be stipulated after a period of 16 to 21 days. He said that the election date should be stipulated after a period of 4 to 6 weeks. He said that the publication over the elections will be issued tomorrow. He said that they have considered the closest and the most suitable date following September 17th will be declared as the election date. He said that the Commission are functioning according to the provisions of the Constitution and the Presidential Election Act. And meanwhile, Minister Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa and Parliamentarian Sarath Fonseca declared their presidential candidacy today.
Minister Rajapaksa announced his candidacy during a media briefing. Born in 1959, Minister Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa entered the Parliament in 2004 representing United People's Freedom Alliance. He then assumed the portfolio of Minister for State Bank and Development in 2005 in the President Mahinda Rajapaksa government and resigned from the post, as well as Maharagama Party Organizer post in 2006. Subsequently, the minister was then elected to the chairmanship of the COP Committee. Joining the opposition in 2007, the COP Committee report submitted by him was controversial at the time. He re-entered the parliament in 2010 representing the United National Party. He became the Bar Association president in 2012 and the no-confidence motion against Chief Justice Shirani Bandaranayake was brought up during this period. He was then appointed as the Minister for Justice, Prisons and Buddha Sasana under the 2015 President Maithripala Sirisena government and was removed from the position in 2017. He was appointed as the Education and Higher Education Minister in 2018. He re-entered the Parliament in 2020 representing Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Accordingly, he is currently serving as the Minister of Justice since 2022. Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa said that the presidential election 2024 will be a turning point for the nation. He said that the vote of the public determines the existence and destruction of the motherland. Therefore, he said that the required change can only be brought in by the people of the country.
මෙම ජනාධිපතිවරණයේ අපේක්ෂකයෙකු ලෙස ඉදිරිපත් වන්නේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා රාජ්‍යයේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා ජාතියේ විජයග්‍රහණය උදෙසාමය සබ්බේ සත්තා භවන්තු සුඛිතත්තා.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Sarath Fonseca, in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, has indicated that he is contesting at the next presidential election. Born in 1950, parliamentarian Sarath Fonseca assumed the Army Commander and Chief of Defence Staff positions. 2009 war victory was achieved when the parliamentarian was the commander of the Sri Lanka Army. He contested in the presidential election in 2010 and obtained 47% of the votes. He was then taken into custody and was elected to the parliament in 2010 representing Democratic National Alliance. He lost his parliamentary seat after being guilty of the White Flat Court case. He was then promoted to Field Marshal position in the 2015 President Maithripala Sirisena government. He then contested in the general elections in the same year but failed to secure a seat in Parliament. However, then government elected him as a national list candidate. Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca was re-elected to Parliament in 2020 general election representing Samagi Janabalawegaya.
Parliamentarian Tushara Indurin Namarasena says that Minister Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa contesting as a presidential candidate will be favourable to the Samagi Janabalawegaya. He stated this during a media briefing held in Colombo today. Parliamentarian Tushara Indurilamarasena said that Parliamentarian Sarath Fonseca says that he will be contesting in the forthcoming presidential election. He further said that MP Fonseca contested in the 2010 presidential election and in the general election of 2015, but he failed to get elected. He said that MP Fonseca entered the parliament on the national list. He also said that Minister Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa too will be contesting. He said the ministers contesting will be benefiting none other than the Samagi Janabalavegia.
Parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa says that a clear decision will be taken after holding discussions with all the parties for the upcoming presidential election as the party. He expressed these views while participating in a program of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna headquarters today. Parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa said that required political decisions will be taken on behalf of the country. He said that decisions will be taken which are suitable for the country while protecting the party. He said that negotiations are underway with President Ranil Wickramasinhe to form a joint government if he could iron out several persisting issues.
And meanwhile, Director General of the Presidential Trade Union Saman Ratnapriya says that people are gathering round the presidents irrespective of any racial, religious or other differences. He expressed these views while commenting on the presidential election. Attorney at Law Nalin Pathirana said that the country is officially a bankrupt nation. He said that 2 years have passed since the worst economic crisis in the country. He said that the economy has grown positively from the bottom.
අවසාන භාගයේ සිට ආර්ථික වර්ධනයක් දක්වා මේ රට ගමන් කිරීම ආරම්භ කළා තියෙනවා. අද සතර අතින්
Director General of Presidential Trade Union Saman Ratnapriya said that people from every region, including North, East, Hill Country and people from all ethnicities are rallying around President Ranil Wickramasinhe. He said that no one can stop this new wave. And now it has been reported that the President has received a legal advice that the post of IGP has not become vacant since the Supreme Court has delivered only an interim injunction order. A senior minister expressed a view that according to the 21st constitutional amendment, in case of the post of IGP is not vacant, the President has no capacity to appoint an acting IGP. According to a government source, until this legal tangle is resolved, this post will remain vacant. The minister added that according to the order of the Supreme Court, only an obstacle has come in the way for the IGP to continue in his duties.
Over the IGP will be directed to the Constitutional Council. He made these remarks while responding to a query raised by the opposition leader. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that there are various versions on the interim injunction issued by the Supreme Court yesterday. He said that the Cabinet of Ministers was convened yesterday to discuss in this regard. He said that a clear order has been issued and the executive as well as the legislature are bound to implement this order. Minister Susil Premajan said that the order has been issued based on petitions filed by 9 individuals. He said that this order can be discussed in various platforms and however the correct interpretation in this regard should be referred. He said that this requires a certain time to refer and present their opinions. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said that the President and the Cabinet are bound to implement the decisions taken by the Supreme Court. Minister Susil Premajan said that the Parliament and the Government respect the decision made by the Supreme Court. He said that the supremacy of the legislature granted by the Article 76 should be adhered. He said that the proposition is not a matter related to the Parliament, but it is clearly presented to the Constitutional Council.
Executive member of the National People's Party, Lalkanta, explained the mode of operation with regard to media organizations when the National People's Party come into power. He expressed these views in a meeting held in Kandy yesterday. Executive member of the National People's Party, Lalkanta, said that those who are in power will be defeated following the elections. He said that some media agencies will also be defeated with them. He said that these media institutions will become outlets for people soon. The expressway from Ingurukade Junction in Colombo Port entrance, built on elevated pillars, was connected to the new Calania Bridge today.
It was held with the participation of Minister Bandula Gunawardena. The construction of the expressway from Ingurukade Junction in Colombo to port entrance is currently in the final stage. The 5.3 km long elevated freeway built on pillars will lead up to the entrance of the Golfers Green. This road has been built with precast assembled concrete structures, which is a technology used in the country for the first time. Accordingly, the expressway from Ingurukade Junction in Colombo to port entrance was connected to the new Calania Bridge today. This would ease the prevailing vehicular traffic at the entry point of the Colombo commercial city and into the Kandy and Airport Expressway. The construction of this project will be completed by coming October.
Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that by next Thursday, an economic transformation bill will be debated and voted on its parliament for the first time in Sri Lanka's history. He said that the performance targets specified by the Act will be enshrined in law. Regardless of who becomes to the power, he said that these goals will have to be pursued. He said that President Wickramabahu, as the national leader with a clear economic vision, has introduced a national program aimed at elevating the per capita income to over $20,000 by 2048, transforming Sri Lanka into a developed country. This ambitious program is expected to be legislated and implemented soon, he further added. The minister said that the port entrance expressway built on elevated pillars marks a transformative chapter in Sri Lanka's road development history. He said that this project was funded by a loan of approximately $300 million from the Asian Development Bank. Despite the suspension of all credit facilities during the economic crisis 2 years ago, he said that the Asian Development Bank continued to provide loan assistance for this project, enabling to reach its final stage successfully.
The technical conference on the Port Entrance Expressway, organized by the Ministry of Transport and Highways, held yesterday at the Cinnamon Lakeside Hotel in Colombo. It was held with the participation of Chief of Presidential Staff and Senior Advisor to the President on National Security, Sagala Ratnayaka, and Minister Bandula Gunawardena. The event was attended by the Secretary to the Prime Minister Anura Dissanayaka, Secretary of the Ministry of Transport and Highways, Engineer Ranjit Rupasinghe, Asian Development Bank Sri Lanka Representative Takafumi Kadano, China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation Chairman Leo Weyman, as well as other ministry secretaries, professors, university students and school students.
Chief of Presidential Staff and Senior Advisor to the President on National Security, Sagala Ratnayaka, said that the highway system planned nearly 3 decades ago is progressing despite various challenges. He said that many sections are currently under construction, but the crucial component, the bypass system connecting all these highways, has yet to be completed. This bypass system will facilitate the smooth flow of vehicles in and out of the city without disrupting the urban activities. He said that the Port Entrance Expressway, supported by elevated pillars, is a key part of this system. It will notably elevate the traffic congestion between Colombo Port and Katunayake International Airport. He added, and the national advisor to the President said that the traffic jams result in delays which translate to financial costs. To mitigate these delays, he said that they are relocating our logistics centers outside the city, which incurs additional time and expense. Utilizing these highways can significantly reduce both time and financial waste, he added. However, he said that Colombo's development has not adequately allocated space for future expansion. And meanwhile, Sri Lanka Ports Authority allocates 43 hectares of land in Trincomalee for a 20 megawatt solar power project. This initiative expects to be contributed to the national goal of increasing the country's renewable energy to 70% by 2030. The agreement was signed between Sri Lanka Ports Authority and the Sunscape Project Company, a subsidiary of the Sri Lankan firm Selects Renewables. The event took place with the initiative of Minister Nimal Siripal de Silva. It was held at the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Auditorium. The land leased for 30 years expected to generate an income of 1.75 million rupees per month. After signing this agreement, Minister Nimal Siripal de Silva said that the national energy policy of the current government has accepted that renewable energy should be produced as a solution to the electricity crisis in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka Ports Authority Chairman Keith D. Bernard and its Managing Director Prabhat Malavige and several other officials also attended the event.
It is in fact a great pleasure and privilege for the Port Authority and the Ministry of Ports Aviation to enter into an agreement with CX Lanka for a project which would generate 20 megawatt of renewable energy. The land belongs to the Sri Lankan Port Authority located in Trincomalee, has been allocated for this purpose, and CEB has given their approval for the grid connection, etc. So therefore we are happy out of several investors to whom we have given whom we entered into MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, to give the land. This is the first company which has fulfilled their obligations towards the other institutions and have obtained the necessary approval. So therefore it is a happy moment for us to contribute, to extend our contribution towards the renewable energy policy of the government of His Excellency Ranil Wickramasinhe and achieve the necessary target of 70% in 2030. So therefore I wish the investor all success in his endeavor to complete this project within the stipulated time, and I also would like to invite the other investors also to embark upon the projects which they have selected without any delay.
The Cabinet of Ministers has recently approved President Ranil Wickramasinghe's Cabinet Memorandum to implement the National Agenda for Anti-Corruption. The National Anti-Corruption Framework includes several key actions. This includes the full implementation of the anti-corruption legislation passed in 2023, the development of an effective action plan, regular progress reviews every 6 months, and ensuring adequate budget provisions for the action plan. Additionally, the framework calls for the creation of a clear national anti-corruption strategy for the period 2025-2029. The framework also proposes amending the National Audit Act to expand the legal authority of the Auditor General. This includes provisions for presenting full reports on investigative audits to Parliament and allowing the Auditor General to authorize criminal investigations into fraud and corruption revealed through such audits. The framework further proposes the development of a national strategy and policies for the recovery of assets obtained through crime and money laundering. This includes providing necessary support for the effective functioning of the newly empowered Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, ensuring proper handling of investigations and prosecutions, and addressing the identification of politically exposed persons to promote transparency in public procurement. The agenda calls for the implementation of a public procurement law that aligns with international standards and requires the publication of information on procurement contracts exceeding 1 billion rupees. Additional measures include publicizing tax exemptions for all companies and temporarily suspending the Strategic Development Project Act until a proper process for evaluating investment promotion conditions.
And meanwhile, the report from the Cabinet Subcommittee appointed to investigate and recommend effective utilization of the Revenue Administration Management Information System was recently presented to President Ranil Wickramasinghe at the President's office. Minister of Finance and Economic Stabilization and National Policy, President Ranil Wickramasinghe issued Cabinet Memorandum on Revenue Administration Management Information System obtaining maintenance services dated 8th of April 2024. The Cabinet Subcommittee was appointed following the Cabinet's decision. The subcommittee, chaired by Minister Kanchana Wijesekara, including Ministers Tiran Alas and Nalin Fernando as members. The report is complied with 7 main recommendations, including the productive use of the Revenue Administration Management Information System.
Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, says that if the bank does not perform independently, the Parliament has the ability to question them. He expressed these views in a meeting in Colombo yesterday. The meeting was organized by Intellectual Collective of the University of Colombo. Discussions were held on the IMF plans and the debt restructuring. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, said that lack of independence bestowed with the Central Bank is one of the reasons contributed to the crisis. He said that in the recent past, the Central Bank became an independent body and was able to improve the price stability and the stability in the banking system. He said that the benefit of being an independent body will be extended to the people in future. He said that the people have the right to question the Central Bank if the agency failed to deliver within its legal framework.
Dr. Wickramabahu Karunaratne, the leader of the Nava Samasamaj Party and an active member of the leftist politics in this country, bid farewell to the nation today. Until he was passing away at the age of 81, he was in the leftist movement since 1962. Dr. Karunaratne was popular as Brother Bahu in the political world as well as among the public. Born on 8th of March 1943 at Lunugala, Dr. Karunaratne had his initial education from Ananda Shastrale of Mathugama and Ananda College of Colombo. He obtained a first-class honours degree from then University of Ceylon in electrical engineering. Later on, he entered the University of Cambridge in the United Kingdom under a Commonwealth scholarship and returned to Sri Lanka in 1970, obtaining a doctorate. Dr. Wickramabahu Karunaratne entered leftist politics after getting the membership of the Lanka Samasamaja Party in the year of 1962 as a university student. He left the Lanka Samasamaja Party in 1972 due to certain differences and established the Nava Samasamaja Party with parliamentarian Vasudeva Nanayakkara in 1977. Since then, being a file corrector on leftist politics in the country, he led most of the trade union activities. He served for nearly 18 years as a lecturer of the Peradari University, but was expelled due to his participation in demonstrations and other activities in the year of 1978. The basis for the expulsion was he is opposing to the new constitution, including the executive presidency, and on the charges of raising black flags. Nava Samasamaj Party was banned during the communal riots, and both Wickramabahu and Vasudeva had to go into hiding till the lifting of the ban in 1985. He contested a leftist candidate during the presidential election of 2010. Dr. Karunaratne continuously appeared on behalf of the self-determination rights of nation. As a result of heading a revolutionary political journey, he had to face attacks on several occasions. He passed away at Colombo National Hospital after being ill for some time. The parliamentarians expressed their condolences on the sad demise of Dr. Wickramabahu Karunaratne. And that's it on local stories. Stay tuned with international news after this break.
Kamuda macang, prima kotumi, fantamai.
Welcome back. We move on to news overseas. A Philippines flagged tanker carrying 1.4 million litres of industrial fuel has capsized off the coast of the Philippine capital Manila, prompting fears of the worst oil spill in the country's history. Transportation Secretary Jamie Bautista said 16 of the 17 crew members were rescued after the MT Terra Nova went down today amid heavy rains and rough seas due to Typhoon Gemi. One crew member was killed when the tanker capsized in Manila Bay, nearly 7 kilometers off Limay municipality in Bataan province.
Kamuda macang, prima kotumi, fantamai.
We now move on to sports news. The Sri Lankan athletics team participating in the Paris Olympics left the island last night.
The opening ceremony of the Olympic Games is expected to be held tomorrow in the capital, Paris of France. 3 athletes are participating representing Sri Lanka in this year's Olympics. Tharushi Karunaratne will be on action in the 800-meter women's race, while Aruna Darshana will be participating in the men's 400 meters. Dilhani Lekamge will be the choice of Sri Lanka in the women's javelin throw event. Athletic events on this year's Olympics start from the 1st of August. That includes 48 events in athletics. Tharushi will be participating in the preliminary rounds of the 2nd of the next month, and Aruna Darshana will be participating on the 4th. In the meantime, Dilhani will be in action in her event on the 7th of August.
Gamuda Machang, Prima Kotumi, Fantamai.
And that's it on tonight's stories. Do it just tomorrow at the very same time. I'm Charita, signing off with